Hi, I'm Macy.
And I'm Missy.
We're best friends
and business partners. And each week, we're going to bring you a quote that inspires us, and we're going to talk about it.
Join us as we break down our favorite impactful messages for leadership and share how you can apply them to lead with confidence and purpose.
Get ready for a fun and authentic journey into leadership, life, and everything in between. Well, hey, bestie.
Hey, bestie.
Excited for today because today we're going to talk about a fantastic quote with a newer friend.
Yes, a newer friend. And I'm excited because new friends sometimes become the best friends, don't they?
They do indeed. You know what I always say, make new friends, but keep the old.
No.
One is silver
singing.
and the other's gold.
We're not singing. All right. So let's introduce our new friend, Ashley King, and then we're going to share the quote. And you know what we're going to do?
We're going to talk about it. Well, welcome, Ashley. We are so glad you are here. Why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about you, and then we'll share the quote. And as Macy said, we'll talk about it.
All right, Beautiful. Well, my name is Ashley King, and I believe that wellness begins with our words. Begins with the words we speak to ourselves and the words we speak to other people. And that is really the foundation of who I am personally and professionally. It has been my guiding light as I have just journeyed through life. And so we get to start with a quote. So how perfect is that?
It's great. Yes. So good. Well, we are glad you're here. And here's the quote for the week. It's a great one. Leadership is about empathy. It's about having the ability to relate and connect with people for the purpose of inspiring and empowering their lives. And ladies, that was quoted by a Mississippi girl, Oprah Winfrey. So girls, let's talk about it. Ashley, when you hear this quote, what comes to mind?
Yeah, well, it's that word empathy that jumps out. That is the word there.
Yes, I knew that was going to be, this quote is so perfect for you.
Yeah, that's the one. And it's funny because actually there are two words in it that I don't love, which is also fun, which is that the inspiring and what's the other one? Empowering. I think that's a little presumptuous. But I think you start with empathy and things do grow from there. And that does become possible based on your ability to really create that connection.
Yeah. Well, I actually looked at the quote a little bit differently, Ashley. So it's interesting that you say that because for us, we believe that connection is the core to leadership. So the words connection and empowering actually stood out to us because that's what, when we go in and we train and we coach people, those are the two words that we find that are kind of like the power words for us, right, Miss? Wouldn't you say? Connecting and empowering, those are buzzwords.
They are a part of our everyday vocabulary. And the inspiring part too is something that we both love to do.
And I would say though, with your kind of what you said, Ashley, you're saying that the empathy part is the part that you're like, that's presumptuous that empathy would make someone connect or empower people, where we're saying leadership as a whole. So I definitely see where she's coming from.
The other way around. Yeah, actually, the empathy is the driver here, right? Like that's the thing. Whether someone's inspired by it or motivated, that's on them. Like I can't.
Right.
So I think we're saying the same thing. Yeah, but
Yeah, well, we're going to go a little bit deeper because so many leaders say that empathy matters, right? Like, I don't know that there's a leader that would be like, yeah, that's not important. I mean, maybe there are people that would say that, but we know that empathy matters, but a lot of leaders struggle to practice empathy. Yes. So, Ashley, what do you think empathy looks like in action for those in leadership positions?
Ooh, I love this question. I think, there's these barriers. And I think the biggest barrier is people don't have empathy for themselves.
Yes.
That is the biggest barrier. They're not giving themselves the grace, right? They're stretching themselves thin. Listen, I'm actually not a fan of servant leadership because I think so many of us, especially given in what fields you're in, we are constantly serving other people. And what are we doing for ourselves? Look inward. it is that focus inward that I think we're typically lacking, and really people approve of it. They're like, yeah, just keep going, serve your team, do the thing. While meanwhile we're, struggling, and, the body keeps the score. So it's not for nothing that we are just constantly giving. I mean, we are gonna it's gonna come back to us.
Yeah, that's so true. That's where burnout shows up. Missy, why do you think people struggle with practicing empathy? I have some thoughts, but I want to hear from you too.
Well, I have some thoughts, and they are in alignment somewhat with what Ashley shared. Okay. But I think, as we work with a lot of high-level leaders, and sometimes those leaders don't have empathy because the ego that they have. So I agree with Ashley. So many people, their self-talk, the empathy for themselves, it's not there. But I think, especially as we're talking about struggles that some leaders have, I think their ego gets in the way, and they don't take the time to hear someone's story or see what someone's been through and to really empathize with that. So same thing, but different ends of the spectrum, I think. What about you, Mayce?
So I think people sometimes struggle with empathy because that makes them look soft. Like, I can't empathize with you. And especially, Missy, and Ashley, you might know, we work with a lot of leaders in blue collar. So a lot of men struggle with empathy, I think, because they don't want to be seen as soft. They have to
it's too touchy-feely.
Yeah, it's too touchy-feely. We've heard that before. So I want to believe that that's why. I don't want to believe it's the ego part, right? I want to believe that they just don't do it because they don't want to be seen as soft. They've got business to do, products to, people to serve, products to make, productivity, performance, profits, all of that, where they don't want that feeling part.
Yeah. I just, whenever I say ego, I don't mean they necessarily go around with an inflated ego and they're just ignoring everybody, but their ego is what is pushing them, Mayce, to do exactly the things you said, right? Like hit the profits, increase productivity, and they just don't slow down to see the people around them is really what I mean by ego.
Ashley, anything else to share?
Yeah, I was going to say, Ash.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. And I think that word listening, actually, it's slowing down and the listening. I was leading a meeting yesterday. It was our first meeting for our committee. And I realized, I just rushed through almost all of it. I did. And that was as I reflected on it, I think, why did I do that? Because at the end, I took a breath and I told a story. And I literally saw people lean in, right? And that was the moment where we connected, because I literally slowed my breath. I told a story that would build connection. And I was like, what? I know better than to rush it.
Yeah.
But we do that so often. We rush things and we're losing that piece of empathy because we're not taking that time to just say, hey, I'm human too.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes we rush because we're like, we got to stay on task. We have an agenda, right? I have a presentation. I have it. And that is where a lot of people, we've seen this before, Missy, like, I'm going to stick to my agenda instead of what's really important, the people at the table. Okay.
Well, one thing that stood out to us, Ashley, is that your work, it really does focus on both leadership performance and well-being. So why did those two belong together?
Ooh, good question. I think that, life really brought me to a place where in my professional life, I had become a leader. I kind of stumbled into it. It took me a while. And then once I was rolling there, I realized, oh my gosh, if I'm a leader in my professional life, I got to be a leader in my personal life.
Yes.
And that was so convicting for me. And I literally said the words to my family. I said, you know what? I need to go get help. And that's what kind of started me on a journey of getting help for some mental, emotional, physical, nutritional support that I really needed. But I literally needed to hear myself speak those words to show myself that leadership, that I cared enough. And so to me, I can't pull the two away now, wellness and leadership. They are absolutely interconnected.
That makes so much sense. What do you think? I just said a few minutes ago that Missy and I believe that the connection is the core to leadership, right? That is the foundation. Like that, we always use like a tire analogy, the hub, and then all the spokes, and the hub is connection. What are some mistakes that you've seen leaders make when they try to connect with our team?
Yeah, I think that sometimes it's like they go on this different path, or they skip the first front line. So for example, let's just say we work for an organization that works for kids. All right. Well, the front line is our staff. And if we're sitting here saying we're all here for the kids, well, that's nice, except that you just missed all these people who are working for you and with you. And I think that we can't forget that, right? First of all, that it's in the mirror. And second of all, it's our front line. Who's toe to toe with us in this work? Who's going to be in the trenches with us? And let's make sure we're taking that breath, taking that time to get to know who they are, right? Yeah. Yes, we're going to learn about these kids. And that is a beautiful part about this type of work. But first, let me know who's by my side.
Yeah. I think that's so good. And sorry, Miss, and then I'll let you go.
No, that's fine.
It's like the same thing with customers, right? Like we got to take care of our customers. We got to serve the customers. We have to go to the people that, but exactly what you're saying. What about the people who are going to serve your customers? Because you could go anywhere and you could walk in, and this has happened before. You go into a fast food place and you're like, you could tell those people do not get treated well because the way that they're treating me, I'm their customer. They're not treating me well, which means they're not being treated well. So I love that. Missy, what were you going to say?
Well, I was just thinking when we were talking about connection being the core of leadership, and then Ashley, the story you shared about you realized you were going too fast in your meeting. You were checking off boxes and you just slowed down and leaned in, even though you weren't necessarily asking questions in that moment. You were connecting to your people.
Oh, sure.
Right? Because stories connect. And you felt it, right? Like you saw everything change. People leaned in. They were more present. So I really love that. And Mayce, you were just talking about like service, right? In the workplace, and knowing that when people aren't treated well, they don't treat their customers well. What do you think, Ashley, about how empathy affects like customer experience? What are your thoughts on that? Customer service versus customer relations, because we're all serving someone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's part of a culture. Whether we want it to be or not, it is part of your culture. If I can walk into, let's say, any business anywhere, if I walk into a staff meeting, guaranteed immediately I'm going to know your culture. I'm going to see who's talking, who's not talking, who's at the table, who's not at the table.
Yes.
What are the words being spoken? What did you take time for, right? And so it's all there because that's what we learned. If this is your staff meeting, this is how we're going to work that out. Now we're going out, we're with our customers, but we're only taking to them what we have been taught within the culture. So it's not easy though. That's the thing, we keep going back to this theme of time. And when there aren't metrics behind something, if feeling warm and fuzzy doesn't give you a great metric. And yet it is literally everything.
I was just going to say, yeah, it is the metric because you can tell if sales decline, if you go back to your staff and say, how come sales are declining? Why do we have low staff retention? Yeah. It's all going to come from the top. It's how someone feels based on the leadership within an organization. So I love that.
And don't you also both think, I'm sorry, let me just say this, Ashley, because I know you'll want to speak to it. But when you're thinking about taking care of yourself, the people around you, your customers, all that empathy, the way you feel, it's good for your body too, not just your bottom line. Like literally, it keeps the people that you're working with healthy, right? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ashley. What were you going to say?
You're totally right. There is absolutely science behind it. I always tell people, like, look, maybe you think that this is all too warm and fuzzy for you, right? We're talking with various audiences. Hey, I'll pull up the research. Check on any of these data points you like. There is research to support it. And I think it's almost like, I'm that person who I will submit that customer feedback. I can't help it now. I will do that. If it was good service or bad service, I can't not speak about it because, we're all learning. And if you don't if no one's reflecting back, like this is really poor service, what are we doing out here? We got to help each other out here.
You're right. Okay. So Ashley, you've lived through some serious health challenges. And so as you talk about learning, how did those experiences teach you? How did they reshape the way that you view leadership?
Ooh, that's beautiful. So I was sitting, let me just tell you a story here. If I could.
Tell us a story. Tell our listeners
we're snuggled in.
Snuggle in.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Get cozy. So a few months after starting my own company, I had lost my job of 17 years and I started my own company, which took a ton of audacity. It felt like a huge risk for me, but I got it rolling. About 1 year into it, I got home from my biggest client. It was in California. I'm in Ohio. I get home and I take a shower and I felt a lump in my breast. And the first voice in me, that voice who hadn't become a leader in my home life yet, that one that I knew was so familiar, that first voice said, "You're fine." But luckily, there was that second voice in my head, that voice who had become a leader. And that voice said, "Yeah, you're probably fine and you're going to get it checked out." And I went and sat on my bed and I emailed my doctor right then. 3 weeks later, I'm meeting with the oncologist, of course, after lots of tests. And he said, "Ashley, you have stage 2 breast cancer with a grade 3 tumor, which means it's large and growing fast." He said, "We need this out within 30 days before it spreads to your lymph nodes if it hasn't already." And I just thought, this is what self-leadership is. This is what empathy is. Because what he said was 30 days. Do you know how easy it is to let a doctor's appointment, linger for 30 days, 3 months, 3 years?
Yes.
But because I had learned to really trust myself, to lean into my own leadership, I didn't wait 5 minutes. I sent that email right away. And so for me, I talk about leadership, really self-leadership saved my life.
Yeah.
And so
that's amazing.
Along those lines, though, it had me thinking about, what does leadership look like now? What does it look like through this journey?
Yeah.
And, I made tough decisions. I chose to get a mastectomy. And then afterward, there's another decision. You kind of think like, gosh, can I be done with these big decisions? But the doctor said, the next thing is now you got to take this medication. I said, okay. He said, you got to take it for 7 years. It's going to completely shut down your hormones. But the data says that, you'll live a longer life. It's less likely the cancer will come back if you take it. Okay. I mean, just positive and negative there. And I said, all right, well, what if I don't do it? He said, well, there's not really much data on that. So basically, your today will be better if you don't. But I can tell you over here with the research that you'll probably have more years to your life if you take this medication, even though it's going to shut down all your hormones, which of course are integral to our body. So there's no right or wrong answer here, right? But what I had to do was really figure out who am I now? In this moment, what does leadership look like? What does leading myself through this mean for me? And I thought, oh my gosh, this like existential choice to make, and I'm 42 years old, I have 2 kids. How could I possibly make this decision? But then again, how can I not? This is me. I'm going to lead myself through it. And so I made the decision that felt right for me, which was, I'm living for today. And I could reason why I would make the other choice, but to me, I realized that's part of my values is right here, right now. This is what I know. This is what I have. And I'm going to grab onto it. Yeah. And so that was just another moment to me where I really showed up as a leader, right? I didn't just take what they said and just say, yes, yes, yes. It was, let me think about it. Let me process what's right for me.
All these years later, they're not so sure about those medicines anymore. That's a whole nother story. We won't go down there, but I mean,
a whole nother podcast that we would not host.
Yeah, no. Let me ask you this, because as you're sharing, you might have another story similar to what you just shared. Talk to us about what your health journey taught you about presence, priorities, and people.
I love alliteration.
I know you do. That's why I asked it.
I do too. And threes, alliteration and threes.
That's right.
Yes. Well, okay. You know what? It actually made all of it more narrow. I'm much more clear. I'm much more focused on what's important, and it kind of helps me navigate easier. Yeah. So that part has actually been a really beautiful aspect of it. I'm not sweating the small stuff. I'm a quality time person. That's one of my love languages. But that doesn't. Again, it made me really think about it's not time. It's quality. We're planning events, we're planning conferences, having this meeting with the committee and saying, what does this look like? We're not just bringing people together to bring people together because we think that's just a good idea. We need to be thoughtful and mindful in our design, not just in the content we deliver, but in the moments that we offer to build connection. And we look at this thing as a whole story. Can you look at this conference as a story? Stop looking at it like the old days where you have a 1-hour keynote. And
yes.
Yeah, so it's different. It doesn't need to stay the same. That's one huge thing is there are no rules. There are literally no rules. And I just think that, in my body, I walk in a certain privilege, which I'm very aware of. And I think that it has allowed me probably to question, is this a rule or is this a guideline or suggestion? Where
I
is
love
there
that. Wait, wait,
room?
wait, 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 wait. That is a tweetable. We don't tweet,
Yes.
but that is a tweetable.
Oh
I
my
want you to say that
goodness.
again. And I think that this is a lens that every person listening,
Yes.
leader, mother, father, I don't care who you are, I want you to get out a pen right now because I think that this is a lens that everyone needs to put thoughts and ideas through. So go ahead and say it again.
Yeah. Is this a rule, a guideline, or a suggestion?
Oh, so good.
It is so, so good. Okay, sorry, I cut you off. It was just
no, I appreciate you.
The
And
mic
I
drop
think that
moment.
Yeah, I think for me, I was such a rule follower all my life. I'm a backgrounder. I'm a rule follower. Yes, yes.
I'm raising my hand for those that are listening on the podcast and not YouTube.
And
My
I'm
hand is
pointing
raised.
to you, Mayce.
Right, I know.
Yeah, and then to get to a point in life where you realize, wait a second, I see what's going on here. Nobody really knows. So if nobody really knows, then let me insert what I think is the right lane to run in.
Yeah.
Love
I think
it.
what you shared is so applicable in a leader's life, even if you're not putting on a conference. Like so many leaders we work with, Missy, I know that you will agree, get stuck in the, well, we've always done it that way.
Yes.
Okay, and you don't have to continue doing it that way. Or, okay, you've always done it that way, but what about doing it slightly different? Or we always like to say, what if? What if it's better? What if it's more effective? What if it's more productive? What if it increases retention? All of those things. So love that.
So let us ask you this. How can leaders hold high standards, right? That's important. They've got high standards while still leading with empathy. Because sometimes it's a struggle, right? Like leaders don't want to be viewed as soft, as we've already said, or in instances, even too rigid, depending on the circumstance and the expectation or standard. So how can they have high standards, but also be empathetic?
Yeah, I think first thing is that standards are safety. So I think when you frame it like that, right, this is not just like, a tool of discipline, like these are in line because we have,
yeah,
absolutely. So I think a lot of it depends on how you frame it. And that second piece, which we've already talked about, is connection. Yeah. Do you know what people care about? My first job in management, the first person on our team, her name is Lydia, and I'm going to say her real name because she was so amazing. What I knew, Management 101, is that I needed to learn what Lydia cared about. What did she value?
Yes.
Right. So
we
I learned.
Preach this, Ashley. Like we don't teach this, we preach this, but I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah.
Amen. But that was a beautiful lesson for me. Lydia valued family more than anything. She had a very large family. Lydia showed up to work, worked hard, great work product, great communication between us. But when something happened with her family, I said, Lydia, go. I got you.
Yeah.
Because I knew how she showed up and she knew how I showed up. And I wanted to make sure that though it was her personal life, she knew that mattered here in the workplace too. Like all of Lydia mattered in the workplace.
Yeah. And we always say, like, if you know that they value family and it's 7 p.m., what are they still doing at work? They should be at the kids' game. They should be at the ballet recital. They should be having dinner. Like work can wait until tomorrow. If you know someone values family, that's where you become that empathetic leader saying, like, I know this is important to you. I got you, like you just said. So as we wrap up, you work with leaders from all over, right? It's not just this one thing. It's all over the place. What is one small shift that leaders, regardless of industry, how big, how small their teams are, what's a shift that they can make this week to better connect and empower their people?
Be more curious.
Ooh, be more curious. Answer.
I think an author who I love, her name is Priya Parker. She has the book, The Art of Gathering. She has this concept called magical questions, which are questions that everyone wants to like lean in and hear what each other's answers are. Ooh, sometimes they're debatable.
Like writing it down because we're going to use it. We're going to use it in some of our training. Magical questions.
I got
magical questions. Yeah, it's questions like, what's the best day of the week and why? We could get into a friendly debate about that, which is also great practice for a team. But also you're like, wait, you think Thursday's the best? Definitely Saturday. Or, what's the best way to eat a potato? Like, I mean, these are just be a little bit more curious and insert it strategically. Again, like go back to that staff meeting, which is like the easiest, that should be a layup for your team. What is the
Missy, I told you,
anyway?
Missy, did I not tell you that she was like,
you did,
absolutely could have a seat at our table? She speaks our language so well.
It's crazy because we tell leaders all the time, Ashley, like, just do that one thing. Ask connection questions where it's not like, how's your day? But you ask these magical questions and it can change everything.
I have a feeling that instead of calling them connection questions, Missy wants to change it to magical.
I don't know. I don't think we can pull off magical questions in the blue collar world, but we can try for sure.
Ashley, I'm going to ask you a magical question. Actually, one of our participants asked this of his team, and it caused such debate. So I would ask you,
great magical question.
This is a great one. Is a hot dog a sandwich or a taco?
Wow. I'm awestruck at that question.
You can use it at your next meeting.
Yeah, I think I will. And I guess I'm going to lean towards sandwich.
Why?
Okay, why?
Why? I feel like maybe, just maybe in my day, I've used bread instead of a hot dog bun. And so I can kind of reason it. But I mean, I could sit on this for a while. I could really think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Someone gave it to us, and we actually use it a lot because it's a conversation starter. So.
Well, ladies, I feel like this conversation has been amazing, and the talking about connection is really a great way to segue into this week's takeaway. And so, listeners, if you only take one thing from this week's episode, let it be this: empathy is not soft leadership; it is skilled leadership. Great leaders, they don't lower expectations. They raise trust. When people feel seen and heard and valued, they take more ownership. They perform at a higher level. They stay engaged longer and they show up healthier. Yes. Empathy, it's not about, fixing feelings. It's about creating environments where people can do their best work, right?
Yeah, that is right. I mean, leaders can't pour clarity and energy and connection into others if their own cup isn't full. So when leaders prioritize their intention, their health, how they're showing up, it does show up everywhere in communication, in culture, in customer experience, and in results. Thriving leaders build thriving teams.
Yes, this is so good. Ashley, this has been amazing. We are so glad you were here with us today, and we wish you the best on your continued health journey.
Yes. So if our listeners want to stay in touch with you, what is the best, easiest way for them to do that?
Well, they are welcome to email me at aking@nationalpal.org. I'm on LinkedIn, Ashley King. I'm all, I haven't mentioned, but I'm also on Instagram and I do a lot of writing. I know, Mayce, you've seen that. So if you're interested in writing and poetry, I'm very much in my feelings. You're welcome to find me on Instagram, which is Ash in the Midwest.
Yes, and we're going to put all of that in the show notes so they'll be able to find it there.
We will for sure. Okay, Ashley, so we ask this of all our guests. What is your favorite leadership quote?
Oh, I have it right here. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Oh,
Marianne Williamson.
Who said that?
Marianne Williamson. It's a longer quote, but...
Oh, that is so good. But we have to ask listeners, do you have a favorite leadership quote? Send it our way and we may spotlight it on a future episode.
Yes, and we'll be back next week with another quote and more leadership insights. And you know what we're going to do?
Yep. We're going to talk about it. Thank you, Ashley.
Bestie. Bye, Ashley. Thank you so much.
We want to thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, please show us some love by clicking the 3 dots to download the podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating on your podcast app and talk about it with other leaders to help them find the show from any of the major podcast apps. We'd love for you to follow us on social media too. Mpactful with an M, mpactful_messages on Instagram and Mpactful Messages on LinkedIn.